What's up, guys? We'll be with you guys very shortly here.
Hello, hello. We're a little late, but we're going to get going here. It's been a couple of weeks. I believe it's time for the 5-minute countdown.
You got that right. What's up, Ron? I see your comment.
time has come.
What's up, everybody? Good evening. How's everybody doing? We got Ron in the house. What's up, Ron? How you been, buddy? He said, what's up, guys? Wasn't sure you're having a show. Didn't hear anything on Facebook. I do want to apologize because I knew we were going to be back, but I did totally forget about posting a banner and letting people know about tonight's show. So, surprise, me and David are back tonight. It's good to be back. I'm very sorry for people who have me on personal Facebook. They might know that I just opened a landscaping business. I didn't really expect to blow up and be super busy, but that's what happened, so I'm happy about that. But with that being said, I got stuck working Sunday, and then, I thought it was going to be an easy job, and that's why we missed the first week and then Mother's Day. So
Your volume is super loud, brother. I don't know if that's anything you can do about that. It's just super loud.
How am I sounding now?
Yeah, that's way better.
Okay, sorry about that.
Nice jersey you got there, buddy.
What's up, Jeremy? Yes, yes. My dad got me this for my birthday because my birthday was yesterday. By the way. Thank you. So I'm stoked. I went and got the new Motor City Blackout Edition Hutcherson jersey. And, man, I love it. I am so stoked.
Looks good on you.
Thank you. So hopefully when we do get a lot of victories this week.
You mean this year?
I mean this year. My bad. Yeah. My bad. Well, I got the glasses to match the jersey.
We're going to talk about, projected wins this year. I've got a little graphic to throw up. We've gone through, we've been gone for a couple of weeks. We had Mother's Day. We had him in the mowing business. Took a little time off, even though we thought we were going to get going week. And, we haven't been here since our draft recap, but we've had the schedules been released. There's contracts that have been signed. There's players that have been released. There's a lot of things going on in the NFL, and we're going to do our best to kind of recap all of that and talk about things. I know you are extremely happy to be talking about the contract extension that Jared Goff has received. Do you want to start there first?
Oh, yeah. Jared Goff got the bag, let's just say. Jared Goff got the bag. He got $212 million, like $170 million guaranteed. And he got what the funny thing is, everybody heard the money amount and thought that that's what this dude cared about. He came out and said he didn't give a crap really about the money part of it. His biggest thing was the no trade clause, so he could stay in Detroit and then not have to worry about ever leaving Detroit. And I'm stoked about it. I'm glad he got what he wanted. He truly deserves it. And I know a lot of Lions fans, you brought this up to me earlier. You had all these Lions fans pissed off because they paid him this money. We got Hooker. Why would we do this? And, everybody thought, including you, a few shows last year, that I was just ripping on Lions fans and hating my own fan base. It's not that I hate my own fan base, but I'm not going to lie. With how bad the Lions' history's been, we've had a lot of mediocre. We have, your diehards that actually know the game, actually follow the league through and through. You know what I mean? And then you have so many Lion fans that don't follow unless the Lions are really good. And if the Lions are not good, they ain't watching. They ain't watching other teams. You know what I mean? And you got a good majority of them running around here crying about how we signed Jared Goff to this extension. Why did we draft Hendon Hooker and all this? Well, here's the thing. What did I say when we drafted Hendon Hooker on the show? That he was for a backup purpose. That's proven facts. Yes, at one point I think Hooker was the insurance in case something with Goff did not work out. You know what I mean? We still had to sign this guy to a contract to lock him down. What if, last year didn't happen? The last 2 years, 2.5 years didn't go like they did for Goff. Because let's not forget, Goff got traded here with no confidence, thrown to Detroit to go die from the Rams. Let's be honest. So, there was a chance that, Goff never got back to this point in his game. And that's why Hooker was drafted. But the dude almost took you to a Super Bowl, and the dude's only 29 years old. You're not going to let that guy walk. I mean, let's be honest. If you look at stats last year, he beat out at the MVP of the league in stats. He had better stats than Lamar Jackson. He had better stats than Patrick Mahomes. Not saying he's the better quarterback, just saying that he played better stat-wise last season than those guys. And almost took the Lions to the Super Bowl. They were 1/2 away from the Super Bowl. You do not let a guy who was that close, that the players in your locker room respect and love and want to play with, you do not let that guy walk. To any Lions fan crying over Jared Goff getting a 4-year extension and all this money, you're just stupid. And all the haters out there talking shit, saying we overpaid Goff. How do we overpay Goff? You got Prescott. You got Tua. You got other guys who want money. Dak Prescott is pushing fucking the Cowboys to pay him $60 million a year. If that happens, guess what? That's a whole reset on the QB market. That means if the Lions say Prescott gets $60 million during the season, we don't sign Goff. Say we sign Goff at the end of the next season after his last year. Guess what? We signed him for $53 million. If Dak Prescott got $60 million, per se, he gets that from the Cowboys and Jerry Jones, which I don't know about you, David, but we've seen Jerry Jones do a lot of stupid things. I don't doubt that Jerry Jones won't give Dak Prescott $60 million. I don't doubt it in my mind. Do I think Dak Prescott's worth it? No. But per se, if it happens during the season and the Lions win on Jared Goff, guess what's going to happen? Especially if Jared Goff goes to the Super Bowl or say he even wins us the Super Bowl. Let's just say it. Now, guess what the Lions got to do? They're going to have to pay Jared Goff $60 million a season to keep him in Detroit. But if they pay him $53 million right now and make him the highest paid QB right now, in the old market, per se, with the big chance of this market going up into next year, the Lions are saving about roughly $10 million on cap space by making the deal now. So anybody talking shit saying it's a bad deal really don't understand the game of football. They don't understand that it's not about it's about how good the player is, but it really depends on the market and position they're at. Like running backs, let's just say it. Running backs got the shit end of the stick right now in their market value. The QBs got the teams by the balls. That's a big market. And guess what? You got to play along, because if you think another team want to sign Goff to a $53 million contract a year, you're on drugs, because somebody would. It was a great deal, and to me, they did it at the perfect time. And not only did they pay Goff, they locked out St. Brown. You locked out Penny Sewell. All your big stars coming out of that's the first big draft class for Brad Holmes, has been paid and locked up. That's showing that free agents, other rookies, other draft picks coming to Detroit, that guess what? For the first time, Detroit is paying the money if you're that right type of player. They're not going to give it to you on your first contract, especially a free agent coming to Detroit. they're not going to give you the big contract right away. Even coming in the league, you play your rookie deal, but guess what? They're showing that if you earn your money, you will be paid and you will be appreciated by the front office, the team, and the fans. I'm so happy for Goff. I'm relaxed because, and real talk, Hendon Hooker is 25. 4 years puts him at 29. So if Goff plays 4 years, say we win a Super Bowl, maybe 2, that's pushing it. Let's just say, because there's chances right now of this really happening in Detroit. Not saying it's going to happen this year, the next year, but in the next 4 years, we got a pretty big window that just started to be open last year. So you got a veteran quarterback like Goff that's been all the way to the last game and has been there and shown that he could take this team there again. You got him for another 4 years. You got Hendon Hooker still there for another 4 years on a rookie deal contract. He's going to get a lot of experience. So at the end of the 4 years, Goff and Lions do split ways. You've got a guy who can start for you for a few solid years after that and then you might have to bring another quarterback in behind him sooner than later because of his age. So there's still a potential chance of Hooker being the starter for the Lions in the future at some point if it goes there. But let's be realistic. Goff could play another 4 years here and get another 3 to 4 year deal after too. There's no guarantee that that's going to play out. But, people need to understand that you got to have a good backup just like you have to have a good starter. And, to me, Hooker's a solid backup. He got a great arm. He's mobile. So, to me, honestly, I think he got the best part because of being 25 years old coming in as a rookie. Your chances of actually being a franchise QB guy were really hard on you because proven fact is NFL teams prefer their franchise QBs or they want them young. They want, especially if they're going to invest a lot of time, money, and development in them. They want them young. They don't want them at 25. So to me, Hooker's fell in a good spot, I personally think, to have an NFL career. I don't think there's as much negative as people making it sound about Hooker being the backup to Jared Goff. You got any take on it?
Listen, for me, I talked to you about it, but I think that I should tell, an independent point of view. I'm not a Detroit Lions fan, okay? And so I'm watching, Jeremy's, podcasts. I'm, reading, different things because we're friends. I get a lot of Detroit stuff that pops up on my Facebook. And so I'm going through here and I'm like, wait a minute. Why are they trashing this guy suddenly? Okay? Because he got paid. He played great. He has been instrumental as one of the focal points of your team that has taken you from a non-winning franchise to a winning franchise to the cusp of the Super Bowl. All the basketball games and the baseball games and at the NFL draft. Jared Goff. The second he gets paid, oh, Jesus Christ. He's a piece of shit. What are we doing? We drafted Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL. Okay? He's coming off of an injury his final year in college. Jared Goff has taken a team to the Super Bowl in the Rams and then was discarded to the trash heap because he wasn't the kind of quarterback that Sean McVay wanted. Okay? He didn't have the experience yet. He didn't have all of the, intangibles that supposedly Matthew Stafford does. Matthew Stafford could retire at any minute. Now you've got a young quarterback who has helped build this team up from nothing because really they sucked. You know it. It's your team.
Yeah.
Okay? They went from being also-rans to having a winning record. You ended the previous season on a huge note. You knocked the Packers out of the playoffs. Okay? And then you start the season, you beat the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. You have a great season. You win 2 playoff games at home, and you had the lead at halftime. It's not his fault the game was lost. Okay?
Yeah.
We've talked about that in the past. It's not his fault the game was lost. The guy deserved a new contract. And the way that contracts work in the NFL, the next man up gets more than the guy before him. The market, they want to increase. The Players Association, the reason they forced Patrick Mahomes to get a new contract is because if he didn't get paid more than anybody else, it's holding back the other quarterbacks from getting top dollar with their contract when it's their turn. So now that Goff has got his contract, you've got Tua, you've got Trevor Lawrence, those two for sure. I don't remember, who else that they've been talking about, recently on the radio, but those guys are coming up for contract extensions. Okay. And so Goff's not going to be the highest paid for long. Okay. The next guy up is always going to get more and more. It's just going to continue to drive the market up. And the reason that the market goes up, I'll say so easily, is because of all of the ways that the NFL is bringing in new revenue. Okay? They get all this new revenue from the streaming services, which everybody's bitching about. And that'll be my next subject when we finish this. Okay. They bitch about all the streaming services which are paying out the nose for NFL games. We've got international games. People are paying out the nose for those to see those. They're trying to expand the, schedule to 18 games. Get rid of a preseason game so they can gouge you for more money. The NFL is a business, and we've talked about this before. You could be a fan of the Detroit Lions, and I could be a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, but it isn't going to matter. They are in business to make money. We have all been conditioned to believe that our team is our team and they would never betray us or do anything, to lose our dollar or whatever. But just like we discussed with the Chiefs and the possibility of a new stadium, if someone's going to give you $1 billion to build a stadium and move to Kansas, you're going to do that because it's money. Everybody is greedy. It doesn't matter who they are. Okay. Everyone wants to make more money when you are in a business. Okay. And so, they're going to continue to do what they have to do to get our dollar. If it isn't through some form of advertising or merchandising, people don't watch local TV all that much anymore. Unless it's through a streaming service, Hulu Live and YouTube TV and all these other. And so people, if they don't have a satellite, which satellites are starting to go out, cable has been going out for years. It's now, do you have a home Wi-Fi system? And do you have streaming services? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we can agree the majority of America, of people that watch TV at home, already have Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. They got at least one of them. And for me, okay, we have several services. Okay. We have several services because we have friends. We pay for a couple, they pay for a couple, and in between all of us, we have almost everything. Okay, it's only $6 a month for Peacock, and it's only $12 a month for one of these other ones, and we enjoy watching the movies and the streaming series and all that type of shit that's coming out. And so when somebody said, "Oh, they're going to have Christmas games on Netflix," I already got fucking Netflix. So what?
I've had Netflix for over 10 years. So what am I going to cry about?
Amazon Prime before. Thursday night games were on Amazon Prime. Okay. We watched the Kansas City Chiefs game in the playoffs last year. We already had Peacock because the kids wanted to see Mario Brothers the movie, And so, I mean, everybody's losing their shit over the fact that, and they're trying to build a negativity of it. This is how much it's going to cost an NFL fan if they stay at home. This much for YouTube TV and this much for this and this much for that. Well, first of all, I'm not uninterested at all in having the Sunday ticket package anymore. That now that DirecTV's gone away, so I don't have YouTube TV. I just got regular YouTube. I'll watch my local shit because those are the teams I want to see anyway, and then I'll catch the Sunday night game on Hulu Live because I've got NBC that's local on there. I've got ESPN on there. I've got NFL Network on there. So if people don't want to get these services, then don't get them. But don't bitch and complain if you don't get to see your game. You can go right down the street to the Buffalo Wild Wings or the local bar that's streaming shit, and they'll show the shows for you if you don't want to stay at home. Because if you're not going to pay a ticket to attend the game, they're going to get your money one way or another.
Exactly. And I mean, there's ways. Like, we have a Fire Stick. We know a dude. We pay him $20. My uncle, my grandpa, my whole family, everybody, my whole family pretty much has it. We pay $20. We get the ticket for free.
I don't have the exact numbers, but I looked it up. Okay. There's 165 million people in the United States alone that have Amazon Prime.
Exactly.
And you could goddamn bet at least a third of them are sharing their code with somebody. And that gives you another 40 million households. And that's almost everybody. You know?
I mean, let's
like, game if they want to watch the game.
Like, on this stick, we pay $20. I get Prime. It's hacked. Yeah. I get Prime for free. I don't pay a dime for it. But guess what? If I really wanted to, I could call my grandfather right now and say, "Hey, man, what's your Prime login? It's Thursday Night Football. I'm logging in underneath your Prime account, and I'm going to watch it anyway." Like you just said it. There's ways. If you don't want to spend it, fine. Go to the bar.
Streaming on your phone through some deal. People were advertising that on the thing on Facebook where it was saying, "Oh, you got to pay this much and this much." Well, no, you don't. You just go here and you can watch it for free on your phone.
Yeah. There's also apps, especially, guess what? Fubo TV.
Yeah.
They get, what I did?
If you are a diehard NFL fan, you can get NFL Plus. It ain't that much,
Like instance, it was the night game against the Saints, I think it was, for the Lions. Or not the Saints. It was a Sunday night game. I forget who it was against the Denver Broncos. That's who I think. Okay. I was hunting at my cousin's. He didn't have cable. I'm like, how in the hell am I going to watch this damn game? So now I'm getting kind of pissed off because, I agreed to stay the night. He wanted us to stay the night so we could hang out because, he lives about an hour away from us and we're going to hunt the next day regardless. Right. So we agreed to stay. And I'm like, I want to miss the Lions game, but fuck this. We're going to the bar. But, at the time, we really didn't want to go to the bar because we wanted to spend the money. Oh, guess who signed up for Fubo TV? I got 6 days or 7 day free trial. I got the Lions game. I signed in on his smart TV and his Wi-Fi. We watched the game for free because the very next day I went to Fubo TV and I said I want to cancel my free subscription. Everything worked great. I just wanted to watch one game and I appreciate your service. Yeah. And I've done that a few times for free. And just use different emails, and it's worked.
Okay. We don't have, when we first started doing this StreamYard thing, there used to be a deal on the side where I could see all the comments. I have to look at the phone now. I don't know what we've done different. But I'm going to catch up on some stuff here. Talking to Ron, the other quarterback that's coming up with the contract is Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Okay? And the Cowboys, like he said, they have, nobody but themselves to blame for the situation that they are in when it comes to his contract. They should have paid him a long time ago, and they would have been able to pay him again by now at a lower rate than what it's going to cost them. I think the Cowboys are on their way down. Okay? They've had their opportunities, but they can't get past San Francisco. Philadelphia has reloaded, and they've got CeeDee Lamb to pay and Micah Parsons to pay and Dak Prescott to pay, and they're just not going to have enough money to cover everybody.
Yeah.
And so, unless they're going to let Dak Prescott walk and draft a quarterback or bring somebody else in, I just don't see the team that they have at this time, going forward and continuing. Moving on with another thing that Ron had to say, he just he's right. You got paid right, and he thought he would get paid. I had him sign in between 47 to 55 million, so it was right in that area, 53 million. And then he wants to talk about Harrison Butker. Okay, Harrison Butker is, Harrison Butker is a Catholic dude. He's speaking at a Catholic school. He's got his own opinions, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's why we have the First Amendment. All these people that want to fucking lose their shit over what he had to say, I read the transcript. There's nothing wrong there. Okay, he has his own beliefs on things. There's some things in there that I think are poignant. Okay, we don't sit at the dinner table and have dinner anymore. Okay, in this country, it's fast food. Okay, it's in front of the television. When I was growing up, we used to sit around the table and we would have conversations about real subjects in life. And it's those real subjects that you talk about where you learn how to be an adult and how to respect people and how to act right and what's okay and what isn't okay. And you have frank conversations about anything and everything. And I think that the family situations like that, they're not around anymore. Some people still do it, but it's rare compared to how it used to be. I think that's one of the things that he was trying to say, okay, in what he was talking about, is that, the dad would go to work and he would take care of everything. I came from that kind of situation. My dad was the main worker. My mom pitched in, but she raised us. Okay.
Yeah.
She raised us. My dad, was in and out of the house, every day, and we did have dinner together and he did join in on, the conversations and everything. But I get the majority of my values and what's right and what's wrong from my mom.
Yeah.
She still had, I would call it a part-time job for a long time until we got old enough to where she could go back to work full-time.
Yeah.
But we're not Catholic, There's just me and my sister. We don't have 20 fucking kids or whatever, and, but I believe that, some of the things that he had to say were true. And people didn't like it, because, I'm not trying.
Here's the thing.
I'm trying to trash other people's ideals or other people's values or things. I have my opinion just like he has his. Okay, and my opinion is that I think that if, the mom is the one that takes an active interest in the kids the majority of the time, okay, that we'll have a lot more well-adjusted people okay? Because moms are nurturing, dads aren't really nurturing.
No.
We're not the nurturers, okay? We're the fun dad. We do all the fun shit. She's the one that teaches us, right from wrong, and don't throw firecrackers at people, and don't be jumping off that, you're gonna get hurt, and all those types of things, because as a boy we're wild and crazy. Okay, but if there's nobody there to correct you, you think you can get away with shit all your life.
Exactly.
People don't have the respect that they used to.
Well, here's my input on this is, people hear somebody in their speech, and they automatically assume because this dude's a football player or this dude's famous. Now, he's saying we have to do it. The dude never said that, hey, women should be doing this 24/7. This is America. We all have freedoms. And guess what? If you're the mom and you want to work a full-time job regardless and still be a mom, that's okay. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because he said something at a Catholic school and he's Catholic and he said this doesn't mean he's saying you have to do it. He's just telling the truth to a lot of things. And guess what? I'm from the 90s. Things started changing from when you were born, David. Things were different. But I grew up where you ate dinner in the kitchen.
Yeah.
With the family. I grew up with my dad working long hours. Also, at times, my mom worked long hours.
Well, hang on, because it is our economy and things that have happened over the last 20, 30 years that's almost forcing women to have to go to work, because you cannot survive in this day and age. A lot of people cannot survive in this day and age on a single person income.
Yeah.
You can't pay the rent, unless you're making buku bucks, and that's what Ron's talking about. He says, all those streaming services, they add up, and some people can't afford them, and that's fine. I understand that,
Yeah.
But just like you were saying, though, things have changed over time, and he in his speech basically said he thinks that we should revert back some, to a little bit of a simpler time in his eyes, but I'm not sure that it's possible to do that.
No, and unfortunately it's not. But I can agree, because guess what? You know what sucks, and honestly sucks, is even I see it with my daughter. My daughter's about to be 15 this year. She's 14. But even at 13 and 12 years old, I've seen her do more things that I never ever did as a child, because there wasn't that much responsibility put on us as kids. We were actually allowed to be kids. We didn't have shit to make us older at our fingertips like in today's world. And she gets annoyed at me when I bring this up, because she thinks like I'm just talking shit because, she's so intelligent at this age. And then she hears me talking and trying to tell her, like, listen, when I was your age, all I cared about was hanging out with my friends after school. I didn't care about, I needed these, do this, do that. I didn't, what I mean? It's just crazy. Like,
weekend sleepovers with
it's insane. Exactly. Like that shit really don't happen anymore. And it's like, and then once somebody brings it up, they're like the anti person. Let's go to social media and get this guy because and it's like, dude, all they do is bringing up value points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that was awesome to be able to come home when my mom didn't have a job, and she was a stay-home mom. Got to get snapped. Run out, go play with your friends till 9 o'clock. You're not hungry. You're not starving. You ate good. And then you come home when street lights come on, so you don't get your ass beat for being late.
Right.
And you eat a great dinner with your family, and then you go play video games with your brother, etc. You know what I mean? For the rest of the night, down payment, that's crazy. Like
Lights are on, your ass is in trouble.
like I live in the same house that I lived in when I was 4 years old.
Right.
So before it was before it was my parents' house, it was my grandparents' old house.
Right.
So I had a lot of aspects of life. When I was first born, this was the first house. We moved a couple places. They got a new house. We moved in here, and then now, being 33, it's my house. It's all I'm in the same neighborhood, and I catch myself staring out the window because when I was a kid, all the neighborhood kids we're riding bikes. Even if we didn't hang out or know each other, I knew who you were because at some point you rode bikes with us, with our clique. At some point you went to the park with us and played baseball. You know what I mean? I remember when my grandparents used to live before they moved back to Tennessee. It was right down the street. I used to be able to ride my bike at 7 years old all the way to my grandma's house and play with all my friends over there. And now I look out my window, and it's like I almost get happy feet if I see kids ride by on a bike, because I'm like, oh my God, kids still ride bikes.
My kids got bikes.
Because I see all these kids walk home from school past my house, but once they get home from school, it's like, where did the kids go? It's almost like there's no kids that live around here.
Yeah.
And it's like, it always messes with me because when I was a kid, out that window there was kids. I remember the older kids because I lived at the dead end. So when my grandparents lived here, the older kids would come play hockey. And I remember being little, trying to not know anybody, just trying to get in the game. Like, hey, let me play. And now it's like you never see those days, and it's really sad. And Greg says those days are long gone, Chris, sadly. And I'm like, 100%, it truly is. Some of my best times were just going to, the school after school, playing a pickup football game with a bunch of people you didn't know. And the winter in Michigan, they used to, the park down the street, they used to have 4 or 5 different ice hockey rinks that they froze over outside for the public. I used to either go there or I would go to Heron Park, a school a couple miles away, and they were the last school to always have the hockey ponds. And when I was in junior high, we'd get out of school about 2:45 and get home about 3. My mom would drop me off about 3:45, 4 o'clock. I would go play pickup hockey with a bunch of random kids in junior high school. Some were even graduated that would come after work and play. We would play from 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. My mom would be in the park and get off the ice, get your shoes on, get in this car, your ass is not coming back tomorrow to play. I'm not sitting here. Come on. You knew I was coming. And I'm like, Mom, I just want to play hockey. We did that all winter long, every day. Repeat. And it's like, no, they don't even make hockey fucking ponds anymore, David. Yeah. I'm going to play pickup hockey right now with a bunch of people.
We used to come home, we would play some video games together, and then we would run outside and play for a while, until it started to get dark, and then you knew it was going to be supper time. And so, you go home for that, and, there's just too many things to distract inside from wanting to go outside. You've got Facebook, and you got your laptops and your desktops, and you got all these streaming services and all these movies to play, and then you got video games, and you got podcasts. I mean, hell, that's what we're doing, But I think we've covered the Harrison Butker thing and how times have changed. I want to get back to, the NFL getting your money. Okay, they're going to get your money, and they're trying to do it everywhere they can. And so, One of the ways that they're doing it's the streaming services, but the other way they're doing it is with the international games. And so, we've got the international schedule here, with the games that they're playing. And I'll be honest with you, I was surprised that they were going to play a Friday night game. And the reason that they're allowed to play a Friday night game is because by the time they do this, college football hasn't begun. High school football has not begun. There is a law in place that says that the NFL cannot have Friday games during, it protects the sanctity of high school football on Friday night, and it helps protect the sanctity of college football as well. And but the first game of the season for an international game is we've got the Green Bay Packers playing against the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil. And this will be the first game ever played in Brazil, first game in South America. The big uproar over this game, which I think is hilarious, and somehow they'll make it work, is you're not allowed supposedly to wear green in this stadium because that's the color of their enemy team or whatever that they play against. And so nobody's allowed to wear green, but yet both these teams have green in their uniforms. I think they'll be wearing their normal uniforms during the game. It's going to be hot as hell, but they're going to have, their, international game there. And, so then we've got London. Okay, London has 3 games this year, as they have had 3 games over the last couple of years. Jets at Vikings, that's going to be at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They've got the Jaguars will be there back-to-back weeks. One is technically a home game, one is technically an away game, and so they won't have to leave. Not that they need an advantage against the New England Patriots, who are going to suck this year. Chicago, Jacksonville should be a good game at Tottenham Hotspur, but then they go to Wembley. And then I was really surprised, Chris. Only one game in Germany, because the thing that everybody was kind of talking about is that, they've got the 17-game schedule now. And so there is an opportunity for every team to play one, not necessarily an international game, but a neutral site game, so that there's not some kind of competitive advantage with some of the teams having 9 home games and some of the teams having 8 home games. So only one game in Germany, and this time it'll be in Munich rather than Frankfurt. I think they did, they did Frankfurt, they've done Munich, now they're going to do Munich again. Just the one game with the Giants at the Panthers. And I was really stunned because, they have these locations that they've already set up. They have these places that they know are going to draw crowds. They know they can make that international money. They've had 2 games in Germany the last 2 years. Why wouldn't they have another game in Germany? And then why are there no games in Mexico? They used to play a game, and they played a game in Mexico last year. Why wouldn't they go back and play another game in Mexico City? Monterrey, Mexico has a stadium that they played at also, And then I think that I'm not going to say the demise of the CFL is imminent, but the CFL has had some downturn over the last several years, especially since COVID. Buffalo played in Toronto several years ago. And so why don't they have a game in Toronto? Why isn't there a game in Calgary or Vancouver? Because you've got the Canadian market, you've got the Mexican market. They're going to Spain next year. What is the deal?
Here's my opinion.
Why are they cutting back on these international games when I think the goal is to get as much of that international money
Well,
as they can.
here's my opinion, David. And my opinion is this: is I know we talked about it before, and we got in a little debate, and I still agree that you're right in that debate because you ended it with you think we're 10 to 12, maybe 20 years away from it ever becoming reality. But the reality is, regardless if you believe it or not, Gardell has mentioned it multiple times, multiple interviews, and it's a real thing. The NFL wants to be able to have a team possibly in Europe full time and possibly in other places where they can make it work through the regular season. They really do want to make this global and possibly have franchises in other countries. So to me is why I think you only see Germany get one game this year is because to me, and don't get me, I'm not saying this is happening fast. I still think this, like, in our last debate we've had on the show about it, I still think we're 10 to 20 years from it permanently happen. But what I think you're seeing now is the NFL chasing the numbers. Okay, Germany only produced this many people live that showed up, and this is how much people came to sport and money, da-da-da. This is how much viewing local we've had. Okay, so but London, we're still hitting all the big numbers that we need. So that's why you see them get 3 games. Why you think the Jags are there? Because the rumor has it, the owners of the Jags has real good ties in London. So if this ever becomes a permanent, they're going to go there. There's a chance they go there. So
they just passed a big deal, and once again, free money. $1.4 billion. The Jacksonville Jaguars are basically going to get renovated a completely new stadium. And, having Doug Peterson there and Trevor Lawrence, who will get paid, and they're going to have a winning team this year. I think they took a step back last year because, of injuries and just a couple different things that have happened to them. But sometimes you got to take a step back before you take a step forward.
Oh, 100%.
Jacksonville is not going to London.
Oh, no, but think about this, David.
There, and they're willing to go there because the owner, is, familiar with, being over there.
But here's the thing. If we're still if we're still over 20 years from that being a possibility, there could be a chance because London is going to throw a bunch of money his way to build an NFL facility there. And I'm not saying Jacksonville will be the team. It's just, if you notice, they're like the one team that plays over there the most. They have the biggest following over there, too, as well.
Okay, so here's the problem, okay? The problem is that you're going to have, if you have an international team, is the travel. It will be, I'm trying to think of exactly how to put this correctly, but it is, it hurts the integrity of the game.
Oh, for sure.
Because you have, if you had just one team in London, okay, it would hurt the integrity of the game. If they want to have a game, every week in London, and it'll be a different set of teams, then you have evened the playing field, okay? But in my opinion, in order to have a franchise at this point, with Jacksonville going to be getting basically almost new stadium when they renovate, if you have a team in an international market, that's going to cut into the pie, okay? You have to buy a franchise, and that's going to cut down on the money the other owners are going to be getting, okay? Because part of they got all their money goes into one pot and then is divided up, okay? Now, if you've got a team that's over in London, 8 weeks a year, maybe 9, because it's 17 games, or maybe even, definitely 9 if they make it an 18-game schedule, you're going to have travel concerns. You're going to have, the cost of sending the players across there every time. You're going to have, people that are not going to want to live internationally, okay? And so that's going to affect free agency. There's so many details that is going to cost, that's going to be difficult for the NFL to have a single team. Now, a whole division, I think they could get away with a whole division, but the problem is then you're looking at 4 teams, or 2 teams in one conference and 2 teams in another to keep it, even. You're still dealing with a lot of logistics that the NFL, they're looking for ways to make it work better for them. But I don't see a team being in London anytime soon. I could see a team being in Mexico. I could see teams in Canada. Okay. I could see more teams in the United States. St. Louis clearly can take on another NFL franchise if you don't have somebody that's always trying to leave for the big money of Los Angeles, And so now that the LA market has been taken on and there's 2 teams there, you can put a team in San Diego again. You can put a team in St. Louis again. San Antonio would be able to support an NFL team, even though you've got Houston and Dallas already, and that'll drive the Houston and Dallas owners crazy, but San Antonio could house another team, okay? Ohio is capable of having another team, okay, in Columbus, and so, there are other places in the United States, but if they add teams to the NFL, it takes away from the pie, okay? They already have long-term television contracts that they can't renegotiate, until the end of the contracts. If they're adding teams, there's more games, there's so many things involved, and that's why it will take a really long time for it to come to fruition. I don't see there being a permanent NFL team in overseas, but I could see there being a different team every week playing over there, and make it a full schedule, because all they have to do, okay, if they add the 18th game, there's going to be 2 bye weeks, okay?
Yeah.
And they can make it to where a team goes over to London, follows it up immediately with a bye. That gets them all the jet lag out of their system, and they're back home and everything's fine, and they do that throughout the year, If they play 2 games in London, one at Wembley, one is at Tottenham Hotspur, they're on the same weekend. You got 4 teams, they all get a bye, okay? 4 teams, they all get a bye. 4 teams, they all get a bye. And they could do that throughout the middle part of the season, if that's what they want to do. Yeah. Spain is closer than Germany. So, the logistics, they'll get it worked out.
To me, is Canada, to me it's crazy because, like I said, I'm just going off of what the NFL is showing us year after year, that this is a real possibility. Even though we think it's not going to work, I've watched a video showing that how it could work. And meaning that, the team, if London ever got a permanent team, when they came on a road trip, they would come and play in multiple away games. So they'd be staying in the states and the cities that they played for that week and practicing here. Vice versa, same for teams that were going over there. They would go up over there early, But to me, going to Europe is crazy. To me, if it was me in the NFL, I would push for NFL teams and maybe permanently in Canada, Mexico, like you said, places that you can freaking make it happen without killing these players and these 12-hour, 14-hour flights bullshit.
Yeah.
And especially places where you can play games later than 9:30 in the fucking morning.
Yeah.
Some people work. Some people have a life on Saturday night. That they, you know what I mean? And I'm not making an excuse because if it's your team, you're going to make sure you're up for it. I get it. You know, I've done it in the past. I'm thankful once again that the Lions get to stay in the States again, though. So, but my whole thing is let's try at countries that we can make it work. Canada, they make it work for hockey. Like, for over 100 years now. You know, yes, some games have to get played at 10:30 at night.
And Toronto would be a natural rivalry against Buffalo. Calgary would be a natural rivalry against Minnesota. Okay. Vancouver, natural rival to Seattle, you know, because just regionally, you know. And so I agree with all of that. But, you know, like I said, you know, they're going to get your money one way or another. You know, this is a business. We love the games. We love the players. We love to root for them. But the bottom line is it's a business. People don't want to recognize it all the time. They want to compartmentalize because they're such a fan of their team. But
and I want to bring this comment up with Ron.
To the owners is your money. Okay?
Yep.
Your fandom, your money. If your money goes away, you know, they'll find money elsewhere. You know, and that's why you've had, you know, the Rams move from L.A. to St. Louis and back to L.A. You've had the Cardinals move from Chicago to St. Louis to Arizona. You know, you've got the Baltimore Colts moving to Indianapolis. The Cleveland Browns become the Baltimore Ravens. You know, all of that stuff is all about we want a new stadium and we don't want to pay for it. Okay, we want somebody else to pay for it. We're in the business to make money, and somebody else is going to give me money, and then I'm going to take it. And people know what kind of influx of economic growth and welfare you get by having a big NFL franchise in your city or state.
Yeah.
So, you know, Missouri's already lost the Rams went back to, you know, they've lost twice. They lost the Cardinals, then they lost the Rams. You know, they could lose the Chiefs. Okay. But
to me,
if they lose the Chiefs will just be going over to Kansas. It'll still be the Kansas City area, which pisses a lot of Missouri people off because, you know, they have something they can hold over Kansas in their emotional well-being and be like, we've got an NFL franchise and you don't, you know.
Yeah.
That's all that, you know, most of the people care about. But there is a lot of economic impact that would change, you know, based on where they are playing their games at.
And I got two more things. I like Ron said, if the University of Alabama can support a large crowd in college, I can see team going to Birmingham. And he brings up a good point. Look at Alabama. Look at like Kentucky. A lot of football fans in Kentucky.
Yeah.
A lot of them are Colt fans or Titan fans or Cincinnati fans because they don't have a team. Imagine if NFL goes to Kentucky. There's a spot. Alabama, Louisiana, not Louisiana, got New Orleans, my bad. But still, to me, Louisiana's big enough to have another one, Baton Rouge, you know.
Not every place can have a team, and you could throw out names till the end of time because everybody'd like to have one. But you got to have, you know, either a built-in fan base already, which is why relocation becomes such a big deal, or you have to go somewhere where they understand it's going to take a little time to become a good franchise. You can't just win overnight. Now, I know they did it in nights in Vegas, and I know they've done it in baseball with the Arizona Diamondbacks in baseball, you know, but when it comes to the NFL, it's a whole nother animal when it comes to becoming a really good team. You know, I know Carolina was in the NFC Championship game their second year, and they've been to 2 Super Bowls in their existence. Bills never made it.
Yeah.
Okay? Jacksonville hasn't been there yet.
And to me, I also do want to bring this up, what you just said, with like the Kansas City Chiefs and these owners. To me, when we brought this up a few weeks ago when we were talking about it, when it first happened, on the show, I made a point, and I'm still 100% I'm right on this topic. These owners, to me, are cheap. And I get why they want to be cheap, because if they have somebody else pay for the stadium, they get to save all that money and make a lot of money. But to me, as an owner, like the Lions did the same thing. Pontiac built the Silver Dome. Now that, the Silver Dome was a great stadium. To me, part of it pisses me off that we moved from the Pontiac Silver Dome to Ford Field. It really does. But guess what? Business, it makes sense. The Lions had to split profit of tickets, profit of beer sales, jersey sales, everything that was sold at the Silver Dome, they had to cut half. They only got half. Right. Because you had to cut the city in, because the city owns the stadium. If these owners would just shut up and build their own fucking stadium, they could have the balls to worry about the coronas. Because now you sold 10,000 jerseys one weekend. It's probably crazy, say it happens. All that money goes to their pocket. They sell 2,000 beer sales at one game. All that profit goes to their pocket. They sell 80,000 tickets and sell the whole stadium out. That whole profit goes to their pocket. And to me, that's what some of these owners should really think about. But the fact is, a lot of these owners are still really cheap. That's why it's like crazy that there's actually talks at some point the Lions get into the new stadium here in the future. Because Martha wants a better facility. She wants everything at one site, everything at one possibility. Because guess what? If she does that, makes a better stadium, makes it bigger, especially with them selling out season tickets as fast as they are these last 2 years, and especially if they stay this good for the next, say, 20, 30 years, we have good football in Detroit instead of bad football like we're used to, and you build a new stadium, that's a bunch of money in her pocket, especially if she builds it with her own money. And she don't cut the city in. That's all profit for her, all profit for the Lions. Lions go from the value of this to possibly have potentially go to value to this. That's how Green Bay. How is Green Bay one of the most valuable franchises in the NFL? Look at everything they've done.
Well,
look at Lambeau.
Money out of them. All the money goes back into the team.
But that's the point. That's why they're so wealthy. Is because look at their stadium. Look at the history. They own that stadium outright. Green Bay don't own the stadium. The Packers do. I'm pretty sure. They built that stadium so iconic. People talk about Green Bay possibly getting a new stadium. I don't think Green Bay ever gets a new stadium. I think all the money will go to keep that stadium in fantastic shape just for all the historic reasons and how remarkable that stadium truly is. And that's hard for me to talk about Green Bay like that, but I'm not going to lie. They have an awesome atmosphere. They have a way to make money all year around the clock with they got a bar at their stadium that you could go to, you could eat at and drink beer at, and go to the actual, store, the whole 9 yards, where they sell all the jerseys and all that shit all year round. So it's June, like Matt Ramage. A lot of people watching the show might know who Matt Ramage is. He's actually a super fan for the Packers, has a podcast. He's sponsored by Quick Trip. That's huge in Wisconsin, and he does his live show there during the week in the summer with Green Bay players sometimes or other guests, and it'd be like a Tuesday night, 80 degree, and he's sitting there drinking beer and talking on his show with the player or another fan or something. And it's just like, wouldn't that be cool as shit if like you could go to Kansas City and just go to a restaurant and drink a beer and look at the field as you drink this beer? And not have to be there for a game and paying hundreds of dollars to be in the stadium. To me, shit like that is really cool, especially when teams do that. And sometimes I wish these owners would realize what they could really do instead of being so selfish and looking for this billions of dollars so they can build the best stadium technology-wise, like LA. Make your stadium historic is my thing. Ron said, I sit in the state of New Mexico that never will have a team, but the NFL fan base is crazy big here. For sure. Because you get a lot of retirees, from Michigan, West Washington, Colorado, I'm sure. You get a lot of people from the northern states. They get older and they're huge NFL fans and they move south. Just like you go to Florida. Just like you go to Florida and you go to any Detroit game, a lot of times you see the crowd with more Detroit fans in there than sometimes the home team in Florida, because a good part of that population down there are actually people from Michigan. And they root for, I know a lot of people from Florida, they live in Florida from Michigan, and hockey-wise, they're Tampa Bay fans. But if Tampa Bay's playing the Red Wings in Tampa Bay, they still go to the game with their season tickets, but they ain't wearing their Tampa Bay jersey. They're wearing their Red Wing jersey. Yeah. But when the Red Wings are not there, they're Tampa fans any other day of the week.
I wouldn't be so sure you never get a team in New Mexico. I heard they were going to have a team called the Enchantment. The land of enchantment in New Mexico. Oh, shit. No, hey.
This is what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. Go ahead. Want to talk about Green Bay and their schedule.
Ryan says, speaking of Green Bay, the NFL did them a big favor this year, maybe not scheduling only one game in December. And guess what? I'm not a Green Bay fan. I'm actually pretty happy about this because it's pretty fucking comical. But
the weather in December, and that's part of their home field advantage there in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And so you would think, that they would want to have more than just one game there. But,
the NFL.
Listen, for me, the NFL is all these teams when they get new stadiums. Have you noticed they're all domes?
Yeah.
And so Green Bay plays at an outdoor field, okay? Chicago is going to have a dome. Kansas City will probably end up with a dome, okay? And so they may be a retractable dome or it may not be, okay? But what they're trying to prevent is to have, the fans not want to come out because of the weather, and getting snowed, and it costs them a lot of money to have to fix those fields and resod them. It costs them a lot of money. Once again, it's all about that mighty dollar in the end, okay? And so if they can make it to where you don't have weather issues, where you don't have to redo any fields, where, it's easier for your broadcast partners, you don't have people that are getting sick or, hypothermia or have to have, limbs, cut off like in Kansas City after 30 degrees below zero playoff game. Nobody said nothing about that until weeks later. It turns out there's people that ended up, getting frostbite and had to have fingers or toes or other things taken off because they went to the game, in those kind of temperatures. And so, this is going to be a trend going forward that northern teams are not going to have as many home games when there's a chance that there's going to be weather and stuff during the later part of the year.
I know.
The the time that the New York Giants stadium got the Super Bowl, okay, they were lucky. They got the Super Bowl, and then the next day it snowed 2 feet in New Jersey and New York. Okay, there's never going to be an outdoor stadium in the northern part of the country that's going to host the Super Bowl again. We'll see one at Minnesota. Chicago will get one once they get their new stadium built. Okay, Buffalo may get one when they get their new stadium built.
Yeah.
You know,
so here's my thing.
Got a dome. Huh?
I'm not buying this. This is going to be a new trend because I see Green Bay fighting this. This is not Green Bay pushing this because Green Bay is losing a lot of Green Bay is losing huge in this deal. Look at their record of playing home games in December. The win percentage is freaking crazy at Lambeau Field. And guess what? That shit that people at home and look at this. That shit, people don't want to come out for cold games. That it's bullshit. Lambeau proves it's bullshit every year. They get people. I know for facts, they get people every year going to December games just to go experience what the crazy-ass Packer fans do in December. Don't get me wrong. The game in the playoffs for the Chiefs, yes, that's a possibility, but look how often it really gets that cold. It's for 1-2 games all year for that type of cold. Back then, that used to be every day in the northern. When I was real little, our winters were horrible. I remember getting stuck was a normal thing. You know what I mean? I remember getting stuck. I remember watching my dad, my mom get stuck. They get their car stuck. They try to pull their car out, and they call somebody else to get their car, pull them out. You know what I mean? I remember days like that. Now, I'm 33, and I can't remember the last time I've seen people stuck all over the road because it just don't snow like that anymore. Yes, it gets cold, but not consistently. I remember I was 8 years old, and it was like 30 degrees every fucking day until spring. Now it's like we'll get a week of 30s. Then the next week will be high 48s all week and 50s. It's all up and down. Like this whole winter wasn't bad. I think we had maybe 3 decent snowstorms all winter. And, so I think it's actually getting better for northern games in outside environment than if you went back 20, 30 years ago. So to me, it's like the NFL is just really, they control the scheduling. And I think this year was just the year that they decided that Green Bay don't get that many home games. Let's see how good they're really going to be when they don't get to play at their favorite place in December, only one time. And it's kind of like shaking things up a little bit.
And so, while we were gone, okay, they had the schedule release. And so I thought that just for shits and giggles, we'd take a look at the first week of the NFL season coming up.
Oklahoma City's a possibility, Ron.
Yeah, Super Bowl. I mean, that's why they want these new stadiums, because then they can bring a Super Bowl to their town, and it's worth millions of dollars to these towns to have, have a Super Bowl there. So let me see here. I'm going to go to here, and we'll zoom in a little bit. Anyway, I mean, obviously, we all know the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Baltimore Ravens, on the Thursday night opener. I think that this will be, a tough game for both teams because they're going to be rusty. It's not going to be like the AFC Championship game where, but you've got Derrick Henry coming in for Baltimore now. And then I think the Chiefs are going to have an air-it-out offense again, like they used to have a few years ago, now that they've got Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy. What do you think, Chris?
This game's going to be real interesting because I think it was a smart move with Henry because now you get to play who's running the fucking football now Is it Henry or is it Jackson? But I'm gonna be honest. I'm also excited for this game to see if the shit backfires on the Ravens, because the Ravens either try to throw the ball or they like to run the ball too much with the quarterback and running back. So I'm actually really geeked for this game because the Kansas City has another. They're going to have another great defense again, and they got Chris Jones locked up. So that rush defense is going to be right. It's going to be solid again. So I'm really geeked up to see how this is really going to look with Jackson and Henry on the same backfield, because, like I said, this is either they could really fuck you up because you got to key on Henry, and then Jackson could get loose while you're putting so much attention on Henry, or
maybe they'll forget they're supposed to run the ball and they'll just start passing it everywhere like they did in the NFC title game.
I mean, that's a good possibility too, but I want to see if this backfires, because to me, they run the ball so much without Henry. Now you add Henry, and what? Now let's just be honest. Any team, what was your first thought? Whoever landed Henry, they're really going to run the ball even more. So I want to see if this actually backfires.
Top guys, J.J. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both went to the Chargers. And
I know that.
Got Keontae Mitchell, who was a rookie last year, and he'll be behind, Derrick Henry. But, Kansas City's defense was pretty good last year. They've only lost two pieces from that defense. They traded away L'Jarius Sneed, who went to
Titans.
Yeah, it will still be a playoff preview, maybe, But, they traded him to the Titans. And then Willie Gay, a linebacker, left for New Orleans. But they had their replacements already on staff. The Chiefs signed Drew Tranquill to a one-year deal last year, and then he re-upped for 3 more in the offseason this year. And then in the secondary, they drafted like 5 or 6 secondary guys a few years back, and all of them have played significant minutes. They still have Trent McDuffie on the other side. You're going to see Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, Brian Cook, Shamari Connor. There's going to be plenty of secondary help for Kansas City. I think the defense will stand pat because they all know the system. And I think the offense will be improved thanks to the wide receivers that they added. And I think that in this particular matchup, I think Kansas City will come out on top playing at home.
Yeah. I could definitely see KC winning this game. But like I said, I'm just curious to see if this is going to make them too predictable with the run, because that's a good chance of that happening.
Green Bay Packers against the Philadelphia Eagles from Brazil, and that'll be exclusively on Peacock. And so, here's your first streaming service, show. Green Bay's coming off of a divisional playoff loss to the 49ers. Philadelphia had the best record in football and collapsed down the stretch. Now, Green Bay added Josh Jacobs to replace Aaron Jones, and they added some defensive players. Philadelphia changed coordinators. They got Kellen Moore at offensive coordinator. They've got Vic Fangio at defensive coordinator. Big draft picks in the first round and second round. They brought in 2 of the top corners to solidify their secondary. Of course, Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey both retired. So some veteran leadership leaves, some young kids come in, but it's still, it's still going to be the Jalen Hurts show. And on top of that, they added Saquon Barkley to the backfield to replace Devontae Swift. I think he'll be a big upgrade over Swift. I like Philadelphia against Green Bay from Brazil.
My take on this game's going to be a huge fucking game for both teams. And why I say that is
it's hot as hell down there, so they better be in condition.
Just that is the Eagles are going to try to prove that they're still somebody to be reckoned with. And Green Bay is going to try to show that they're good enough to give Detroit a challenge, which, of all the teams in the North, Green Bay is, to me, the one with the legit competition to the Lions. Not saying that the Vikings and the Bears can't be. It's just coming out of the gate, there's only one other team that I think actually makes the playoffs out of the North, other than the Lions, and that's Green Bay. So, to me, both teams are going to want to come out of the gate with the victory. So, I definitely plan to watch that game because that game, to me, I think it's going to be a good, real hard, competitive game. And like David said, they better be in condition because they're playing in South America, and that heat is no joke.
Yeah, so then, you got the battle of new quarterbacks. Russ Wilson is probably going to be starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who added Patrick Queen to their defense from Baltimore. Atlanta brings in Kirk Cousins if he's healthy. If not, we'll see Michael Penix Jr. way earlier than we expected. Atlanta's had a pretty good team when it comes to, weapons offensively. They brought in Darnell Mooney this offseason. They added, more players on offense, and they bolstered their offensive line. I don't like that they didn't really bolster their defense, which needs some pass rush. I thought that they were going to draft Dallas Turner in the first round. They went with Michael Penix Jr. But this is going to be a very good game. I think on the strength of Pittsburgh's defense, they should win. But it's in Atlanta. It's week 1. So Atlanta's definitely going to have a puncher's chance against them.
Yeah. And here's another thing is I think Kirk Cousins, either this is, I don't know, it's hard for me to say, is Kirk Cousins he's shown it before when you put him in a situation about his job and making him look like that, he has a tendency to play lights out. So I'm excited to see how this game works out because I know from the reports that he was not happy with Atlanta's first draft pick and picked in QB. And I want to see how he comes out the gate with it. I want to see what Kirk Cousins we get in. Are we getting you like that, Kirk Cousins? Or are we going to get the, humble Kirk Cousins?
I like Pittsburgh to win the game. I think Pittsburgh's going to have a big year, and we're going to talk about my preseason predictions when we get done here with week 1. I've got the standings for both the NFC and the AFC and the possible playoff outlooks coming up for this 2024 season. But let's move on to the 4th game of week 1, and that's the Arizona Cardinals, who have a whole new offensive, wide receivers there on their team, and so does Buffalo. Buffalo and Arizona have wide receiver issues, and, but Buffalo had to give up quite a bit of their defensive players to get underneath the salary cap. They lost Jordan Poyer. They had to give up Tre'Davious White, who had been inconsistent with the injuries. But Kyler Murray is healthy. Arizona and Buffalo. In Buffalo, I think it'll be a fun game.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this game because the Cardinals, I want to see how good they come out. I know we were down on Kyler Murray, thinking that Murray was going to be gone at the end of the season, and how the season came into last year. And then when he came back to play, they were so competitive, playing tough, close games, pulled out some victories that we thought for sure they would lose. So I'm actually really excited for the Cardinals season this year. I want to see if it almost looks like Murray's first year when they went to the playoffs, or did last year was just kind of a fluke thing. Because to me, I think we're going to get to see the real dynamic of the Cardinals, what the future could look like. And with Buffalo, I want to see, are they going to be okay? Did they regress too much? And are they a team that really might not make the playoffs? Or are they still going to be a competitive team, just not as good as they once was? Because to me, there's a lot of questions in Buffalo. How good are they going to be now? They lost a lot of people. They lost their best wide receiver. I know they signed some receivers and drafted, but we all seen where they really fucked up in the draft this year. So with that trade, so to me, I'm excited just to see where Buffalo's at and see the Cardinals. But I'm going to take the Cardinals with the victory in Buffalo.
I agree. I like the Cardinals in game number 1. I think that they played so tough last year, and now that they've had their, they're going to be running the same systems they had offensively and defensively underneath their belt. They're going to have some pretty good running game, there now. And I think that they are more stable right now when it comes to the players that have been on their team in comparison to Buffalo. But this next game, man, oh man, I really believe this is going to be the game of the week. It's the Tennessee Titans who have bolstered themselves. They got Tony Pollard at running back. They got Calvin Ridley at wide receiver. Okay. They have done so much to improve their team here in the offseason. They got a new head coach in Brian Callahan, who was the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. And they're going to play against the Chicago Bears. And the Bears, of course, had the number 1 pick thanks to the trade the year before with Carolina. And so they got Caleb Williams. They brought in Keenan Allen. They drafted Roma Duze. They got Devontae Swift. And they had a great defense at the end of last season. And they didn't lose any of those pieces. I think that Chicago is going to surprise Tennessee in week number 1.
I don't see that happening. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but this is what I expect out of this game. I expect Chicago's defense to be there. I expect the defensive struggle game. I feel like the Titans have a good defense as well. So I feel like it could be a low-scoring game, but I expect Tennessee to win this game. One reason why is Will Levis is, I assume is going to be the starter going in this year. He got some playing experience. They beefed him up with that offensive line. He got some wide receivers. He got some running game, and he got some experience. Caleb Williams has never played a game in the NFL. I mean, you got fucking people on NFL Network talking about how with the Bears schedule, Caleb Williams could lead the Bears to the fucking Super Bowl. Come on. The dude's never played a game. Could they win this game? Sure. If it's a defensive battle the whole game and a low-scoring game, no doubt.
They got to have something to talk about, Chris. I mean,
I understand that, but I don't expect Caleb Williams to go there go in a game against Tennessee, who, like you just said, have done so much things this offseason to become a better team, and just light them up in his first game ever. I don't see that happening. But I do see a good defensive battle, low-scoring game where the Bears could pull it out. Yeah. But I don't think it's like all these crazy. I mean, I got a lot of Bears fans that I'm actually friends with, and I actually know that follow me. And just seeing their posts and the shit they're talking, it's like, Jesus, man. Like, I'm really scared. I've said this 1,000 times. I think Caleb Williams was the best quarterback. Yeah. I don't see all the hype. I've watched his highlights in USC. There's nothing sticking out like, oh my God, this kid's good. This kid didn't make it. He had to transfer there to become a bigger star than what he was at the previous school.
No, he was a star there too.
He was.
He came with the coach at the same time. They knew what they were doing, you know.
But to me, is why didn't he stay in Oklahoma, David?
I agree with you when it comes to I didn't see a whole lot of highlights, but he didn't have a whole lot that he was working with compared to the year before.
Well, that's my thing.
I understand that as a Detroit Lions fan, it is your first duty to say Chicago and Green Bay and Minnesota are going to suck. But, I think that Chicago may be onto something here. I think if he plays just adequate with the weapons that they've got and the defense they have, they're going to be in the running for a playoff spot. Okay? And Tennessee is going to be the same way. I think they're going to be in the running for a playoff spot. I think that, this is, like I said, I think this is going to be a damn good game, in week 1 in comparison to the next game, because I don't expect shit out of New England. And
wait a minute. Why don't you expect shit? They got May. They're going to go to the Super Bowl, David. They got May.
May will not be starting. It's going to be Jacoby Brissett. Okay. They're going to have Ramondre Stevenson running the football, but you got a new offensive coordinator. You got new defensive coordinator. Bill Belichick is not there anymore. Okay. And in my opinion, they did not improve their team dramatically in any way, shape, or form. And, they're going on the road. They're playing against Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals are a superior team. New England has a very tough schedule, okay, based on the division they're playing in, the conference they're playing in, and the teams they're playing in the NFC this year. They're in for a world of hurt. So they're going to be picking early and often again next year, and hopefully they'll get some weapons for their new quarterback who should sit all year long and learn, because according to NFL Network, which I do believe in from time to time, he needs a lot of work. And so, Burrow, we're going to get to see how healthy he is coming back. And, when it comes to this particular game, I like Cincinnati.
I got the Bengals too.
Before Ryan come to say hi.
What's up, Ryan?
Is vibranium the strongest metal?
Vibranium is not real. It's from Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, Captain America's shield is made out of vibranium.
Yes, I know that. And it's not real. But I love you. Besides, Wolverine's adamantium and get him.
But, I just want to go back one thing. And I just want to say this. This is not... My take on the Bears is not having anything to do with the Lions fan. Because I do believe if Caleb Williams is the real deal, like they claim he is, and he can play, the Bears are going to have a really good team in the next 2-3 years. 100%. They've done the best thing I've ever seen the Bears do as a franchise. Build a legit wide receiver core. But I just don't expect it. I don't expect any team starting with the rookie quarterback, not even the Vikings, with the possibility of JJ beating Donald out. I don't even expect that to be what they're trying to claim with the Bears. But back to the Bengals. The Bengals win this game, I think, with ease.
Yeah. So then we get to an interesting game because you'll have Anthony Richardson coming back for the Colts, and he is going to be the starter for certain because they let Gardner Minshew walk. But you've got Houston that is absolutely loaded for bear this offseason. Defensively, the players they brought in, offensively, the players they have brought in. I mean, they were a year ahead of schedule last year by winning the division ahead of Jacksonville, who struggled, But I think that they're prepared to take it to the house. They're going to do everything they can to see if they can do it this year, and they've thrown all their chips to the center of the table to try and do it.
They're legit. They're a legit contender.
Legit, I think there's still going to be a lot of growing pains for Anthony Richardson, and even though they're playing at home, I'm taking Houston.
I'm taking Houston too. There's no question in my mind that Houston is a legit. And this is just another thing I want to bring up. Let's go back to last year with Houston. How many of those QBs that got drafted was C.J. Stroud started last year? And look how many, and look, there was one QB who won the division and went to the playoffs as a rookie. When's the last time you seen a rookie really come in the league and dominate like that? Because it's been a few years. C.J. Stroud did it.
I can't think of one that's done it recently, but the first one that came to mind was Ben Roethlisberger.
That's what I'm saying. Ben Roethlisberger was the only other QB that I really truly knew was a rookie that came in and did all that. That's just the gap in the gap of the reality of this league and rookie QBs. And you know what I mean? Only a select few have those type of years. That's why I'm so sick of the Caleb Williams talk. Because guess what? C.J. Stroud made me eat my words all year. And I did it with a smile about it. Because guess what? I called him a bust because he's from Ohio State. Because they haven't produced a legit NFL quarterback. He broke the bust. He broke the streak. Congrats to that kid. He made me eat my words. I will eat my words again if I have to. Yeah. But I'm done with this whole fanatic world. But I am really excited to see how good Houston is. Because, KC and all KC fans, we're here for the three-peat, And yes, I want the Lions to come and get it this year. Yeah. But I am going to join Houston because I think Houston can get that number 1 seed away from KC.
Yeah, no, not going to happen. Jacksonville and Miami, and this will be an interesting matchup. Miami has cap trouble. So they had to let go of their best defensive tackle, their best offensive lineman, some of their pass rushers, and so there's been that they had to let go of one of their top corners. And Jacksonville has basically reloaded. They got them some wide receivers. They let Calvin Ridley walk. They bring in Gabe Davis from Buffalo. I think they bolstered their offensive line, which really missed Jawan Taylor last year, even though people made fun of him in Kansas City. I think he was a real key to their offense on the line. But for me, I think that Miami is going to take a little bit of a step back, and I think that Jacksonville is going to rebound. I like Jacksonville to win the first game here against Miami.
I'm going to take Miami just because it's in Miami. And I want to see where Jacksonville's at because last year I was with you. I was with Ron. Ron bringing it up actually in this comment. I'll re-show it again. Was it this one? We all had Jacksonville winning the division on this show. Ron agreed with us all last year, high on Jacksonville, and they let me down. So I'm not ready to buy into the Jacksonville. I want to see it on the Axel Field. So I think Miami does take a step back to defense because I know they lost a couple players, but they still have a high-flying offense. Tua wants to get paid. He's sitting out of OTAs right now.
Yep.
So if he don't get paid for the season, I think he's going to come in with the chip on his shoulder. He's going to want to sling that ball, make some noise, and show that he deserves the money. So I think Miami could be all right this year. I still think they're a playoff team for sure. And I'm not saying Jacksonville don't win this game, but before I get high on Jacksonville, I want to see them. I want to see the product and game, just so I don't have to eat my words later like they made me do last year. Miami will just be the team that Tua is going to have to be good to stay relevant, but I still think Miami wins the division this year. Miami wins against Jacksonville. I agree.
Well, and then we move on to another game that I don't think is very interesting. I still think Carolina is the worst team in the NFL. I think that they traded away their best defensive pass rusher to the Giants. They may have added some players here and there, and they may be better, but you got a new coach who's never been a head coach before. The coordinators that he brought in, both offensively and defensively, are young, unremarkable unknowns for the most part. And you still got a quarterback that I think, we all have seen that, he's slight. He makes a lot of mistakes. If the offensive line hasn't been bolstered, he's going to get killed back there. And I think that New Orleans has done what they needed to do. They brought in some pass rushers to bolster an aging defensive line over the last couple of years. I think that, they've let some veterans walk to help them in their salary cap situation. I still think that Derek Carr can get it done when the chips are down. And, they've got a two-headed monster now running the football again, for the Saints. And so, this is an easy one. I think the Saints win this one.
I think the Saints clean house with this one. I totally agree with the Panthers, and I hope for the Panthers owner's sake, I don't know, man. Part of me hopes they suck again and Tapper sells the team just to save those fans. But
yeah, he's the worst owner in sports at this point. They made
a big deal.
The way he treats the fans and the people that are in his town, he is a rude, crude person, and he's unapologetic about it. And, he's a billionaire, so he can just do whatever the hell he wants, and I don't like that.
Yeah. So I hope the Saints demolish Carolina, in my opinion.
Vikings Giants on Fox at 1:00, and this could be Sam Darnold, it could be J.J. McCarthy. I think they're going to run the ball well with Aaron Jones, but they're not going to have T.J. Hawkinson in time. I think that's why they signed Robert Tonyan, and they brought in they've got a couple other good tight ends that they can get the ball to. But you've got Justin Jefferson is looking for a big contract. And so thank you, son. And appreciate it. And he's got a big contract he's looking for. Jordan Addison is a perfect complement to him. Now they lost KJ Osborne as the third receiver. But, I look at the Giants on the other side, and is Daniel Jones going to be ready?
Yeah.
Or are they going to go with Drew Lock as their starter to begin the season? Jones had that neck injury of some sort. There have been whispers it could be career threatening. They lost Saquon Barkley. They turned to Devin Singletary to run the football. I think they've got a good defense. They improved it with Burns coming over from Carolina and through draft picks. But, they do have Malik Neighbors that they got in the draft. But is Drew Lock really your answer at quarterback? I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Vikings. I'm picking the Vikings in this first game. I think both teams are going to need some time to gel till we find out who they really are. But the majority of the team is still intact in Minnesota.
I think Minnesota wins this game. I think Drew Lock could be the answer, though, because you got to look at this. To me, it has to be shown and proved 100%. I do not trust it. But I want to point something out. Drew Lock was with Denver. I don't think he had the best coaching. And how things played out there, a lot of pressure was put on him, because he was the takeover from Peyton Manning and the Super Bowl victory pretty much in Denver. And then, because they went and had the trouble with the quarterbacks they originally picked to replace Manning. And, I think stuff answered. But he went to Seattle. He sat behind Geno Smith, with Pete Carroll. And now that he might actually have a chance of starting, because depending on the health of Jones, I think it might be good, because I think maybe he can revamp his career here. We haven't seen him get actual starting time since Denver. So there's a chance that, he's developed and bettered his skills and can understand the game more and actually be a better quarterback. We've seen Geno Smith do that with the Seahawks. Not saying, he's a Hall of Famer, but, he has been playing some pretty good football. Got Seattle to the playoffs the 1 year. Almost had him again last year in the playoffs. So, you can't take that from him. Now, with the Vikings and JJ, it's funny because David thought, he was kind of hoping that, he wants somebody else in the draft. And I told him, I just shared this actually in Renegades the other day from the rookie minicamp, and they said that JJ was hitting the plays like he's been doing this for years already. And here's a fun thing that it shows that I was pretty right with this pick, because I felt like Minnesota really wanted JJ over anybody. And they said JJ had the play script and the playbook since pre-draft visit of that whole offense. That JJ's been studying that whole offense from pre-draft visits. And they said that he studied so much that in rookie minicamp, it looked like he was a seasoned vet running these plays. Now, I'm not saying that makes him guarantee going to beat Sam Darnold, but I will say, from watching him actually, seeing how comfortable he was making the decisions and moving in the pocket and throwing the ball, Sam Darnold might not have just an easy start to this season as a starter. There's a good possibility JJ wins the starting job, and to me, I know I just went on this whole Kalen Williams spill, but I said it from the beginning that I think JJ is the best QB in this draft class. I think JJ's just like CJ Stroud. I'm not saying he's going to have the same success, because I don't think they'll win the division regardless. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. But I think if JJ can come in there, they could fight for a playoff spot. Or maybe 3 teams in the North do make 2 wild card and 1 division champ. It's a possibility, But I'm not saying it's going to happen, but to me, that's a game changer if J.J. McCarthy's the starter for the Vikings. To me, I think that gives the Vikings a better ceiling to this season, just because I think he's way better at throwing the ball than Sam Darnold and athletic. I think he can use his legs when he gets in trouble better than Sam Darnold. I think he can make some better plays than Sam Darnold. But again, he's a rookie quarterback, so I'm really intrigued to see who's going to be the starter for Week 1.
You're intrigued? Cool.
For both teams. I want to see if Daniel Jones is going to be the starter for the Giants, and I want to see who's going to be the starter for Minnesota.
Ron says that the Saints will win. Carr's been working out hard all offseason. He thinks the Giants to win, but the Vikings win this game. He has no faith in the Giants this year. JJ playing within the first 5 games of the year, that's probably true. So let's move on to his former coach, and Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers host the Raiders in the next game. And,
this is a hell of a week to start off. AFC West, Harbaugh's first game.
Yeah.
The Raiders, who were interested in John Harbaugh, or not John, but Jim.
Yeah.
So, to me, the Raiders are going to get first hand if if they think they made a mistake. But I'm curious on how this game's going to play. Are we going to see Justin Hubert sling the ball, or is he bringing the run first offense from Michigan to the Chargers?
Herbert,
Or Herbert. I always want to call him Hubert. Sorry, my bad.
You got Gardner Minshew's probably going to be the starter for the Raiders. They've got Zamir White's going to be the starting running back. And, they still got Devontae Adams. They added Bowers at tight end to go with Mayer. I think that this team is lacking in a lot of different places. I like the coach and I like the coaching. I'm glad they retained him, but I think that the Chargers are going to be a re-energized and focused team. When Jim Harbaugh goes somewhere, what he does is exactly what he did in the draft. They drafted John Alt to improve their offensive line, and they're going to run the ball down your throat. Okay? Now, he's got the luxury of having Justin Herbert to throw the ball, and, they picked up some pretty decent receivers to replace Williams and Allen, who they had to let go. But they kept their defensive players, their stars, by renegotiating their contracts. They're going to be playing a new scheme, one that's better suited to the people that are on the team, rather than trying to make them fit into the system that was Brandon Staley's system. So I think that Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, if he can stay healthy, are going to be a lot better this year on that side of the ball. I think that the Chargers win this game at home. First game for Jim Harbaugh.
I think so too. Hey, and don't forget, he's brought some defensive players from Michigan in this draft that can fill the holes they did have as day one starters. And
I was stunned they didn't draft Corum.
I was too. I was very stunned. But but it just shows that he needed defense. He felt more in offense, and he got some kids that can start day one and ball in this league.
Well, Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks. Who's going to be the starter for Denver? Are they going to go with Bo Nix, the rookie? Are they going to bring in, Jared Stidham, who was the backup and the starter late in the year last year? Or will we see former New York Jet Zach Wilson? That's all up in the air. And I think that there's going to be, they're going to figure it out in the preseason. Sean Payton probably wants Bo Nix to be a starter. There'll be some growing pains if he is. And I think the other guys are just an insurance policy and a project.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Zach Wilson, who's not going to figure in this game at all, I think that he's going to have an opportunity to actually sit and learn some things. Sean Payton is a fantastic offensive coach. He hasn't had fantastic offensive coaching in his career. And if he gets a chance to sit, there's a reason he was drafted so high. And he's going to be worth draft picks at some point. If somebody gets hurt or if he shows out in the preseason in a couple of seasons from now. And I just think that Peyton's smart for bringing him in because, he has done all the things you could possibly do wrong, and he can share that information with the rookie quarterback who's probably going to be starting this year. And then, for Seattle, whole new, coaching staff coming in there, defensive-minded again from, Baltimore. And but they got Geno Smith. They have running backs. I think they have a talented team between the running backs, the tight end, the wide receivers, but the offense and defensive line have let them down over the last couple of years. I don't think that they have done enough to, bolster it. I know Seattle picked up an offensive lineman in the draft who's going to start right away. But I like Seattle to win this game, but only because Denver is not going to be fully formed week one.
Yeah. I got Seattle winning this game, though.
And then we got the Dallas Cowboys playing against the Cleveland Browns. And part of the news when this was announced is this is going to be Tom Brady's first broadcast for Fox, as if they needed more eyeballs to see the Dallas Cowboys game. Like it wasn't going to draw enough ratings. And you got a Dallas Cowboys team that we've already talked about that I think is going to be, on a downward, turn compared to in previous years against Cleveland, who, if Nick Chubb's back at full speed, Deshaun Watson's back at full speed, they took down Baltimore in Baltimore last year, okay, in the regular season when they were at full strength without Nick Chubb. The defense has gotten better. Jim Schwartz is an awesome defensive coordinator, okay? And if Stefanski has got Deshaun Watson pulling the trigger, at quarterback, I like Cleveland winning this game, running away, and it will be the sky is falling in Dallas after week 1.
I got Cleveland winning this game. This game to me is huge because, you had Jerry Jones say they're going all in after this offseason came and pretty much almost got already. Jerry Jones has done nothing to back up his mouth. So, to me, it will be fun, like David said, because you know how the Cowboy fans will be. The sky's falling in Dallas. I think the Browns for sure are the better team. I want to see how good the Browns are really going to be, because there's a part of me that would love to see the Browns make it all the way and possibly the Lions, because if that ever happened, that could be probably one of the best Super Bowls I think you could ever see. Two teams that have been in the dumps for years make it to the promised land. But I just want to really see how better the Browns were, because like last year, like David was saying, the Browns went through so many quarterback problems, and they still made the playoffs, and they still made noise. So I want to see how if they can stay healthy, Deshaun Watson can stay healthy, and everything goes like planned. I want to actually see how good this team can be at full strength. Browns beat Dallas.
Then we go to the Washington Commanders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa's going to have a new offensive coordinator, but it's a guy that Baker Mayfield has worked with before when he spent a little time with the Rams. Washington going to have Cliff Kingsbury, and they're going to have Jaden Daniels in there, the rookie. And so this will be a pretty interesting, breakout game. I think that because, they have some weapons offensively, but I like Tampa's defense. Tampa's defense has been good for many years. I know they lost a couple of players in the offseason, but they're getting Jordan Whitehair back in the secondary. They've got Levante David coming back. And so, I'm going to take Tampa over Washington.
I got Tampa too. I am curious to see how good how good the Commanders can look this year, though.
I'll turn this over to you. It's a rematch of the, divisional or the wild card playoff game between the Rams and the Lions. And with the things that both teams have done in this offseason, what's going to happen, Chris?
Well, for all you crybabies who talk shit about the playoff game in Detroit and all the Lions fans booed Stafford and all that stuff, and we weren't respectful to the guy who gave us great 12 years, etc., etc. This is the game. All you guys can shut up. This is the game. The Lions give Stafford his roses when he comes to town. They'll have a tribute video, a thank you for all the years and memories. And then we come out there and we kick their ass on Sunday Night Football. The Lions have done a lot this offseason. We've added a few big players, I think, in the holes. We also locked up all of our big stars. St. Brown is locked. Swoole is locked. Goff is now locked. We also, one of the teams that had the best drafts, in my opinion, we have Arnold that's going to get the start. He's already looking pretty good. I like it. I'm ready to see the new secondary that we added this offseason. We've went hard on defense in particular all offseason. We added secondary help, pretty much was our offseason. We also got DJ Reader. So, and we get Blake Corum, so we already know that the Rams are going to want to run the ball. So I think week one we get to see how good our rush defense really is. Last year, going on the season, the Lions had one of the best rush defenses in the league. This year, I think we could have the number one rush defense in the league, and I think our secondary could be top 10 as well improved. So I'm really excited to see on both sides of the ball. The Rams also had a pretty decent offseason for themselves. They got a running back who can actually run the ball and help Stafford. Stafford is still Matthew Stafford. He can still sling the ball. And we all know how good that wide receiver core is. This game is going to be a high-scoring game and a hard-fought game. I don't see the Lions actually blowing them out in this game. I see this could be one of the best games of the week, of opening week. I do see Detroit winning this game on Sunday night at home at Ford Field to let the league know that we are on a mission to go to the Super Bowl this year. Our coaches to our players have made it known that, after all this talk of Dan Campbell said he didn't know if we'll be back here. Well, guess what? It took the players not even a week to come back and all get on board with the message that we want the championship and we want it now. They have every aspect goal to be back where they were and make it all the way. I still think the Lions are the team to beat in the North, and I'm ready to. And you guys will see it that we ain't going anywhere in week one on Sunday night.
Well, like Ron said, it was a really close game in the playoffs between the Rams and the Lions. Lions only won by 1 point, and both teams have improved in this offseason. The difference in this game is it's not a playoff game. It's a regular season game, And like you said, they'll probably give, Stafford his flowers and everything this time around because it's not a playoff game. And, the Lions have a mindset to come out and kick some butt. Well, I'm going to take the Rams. Okay, in this opening game. Doesn't mean they're going to be the better team at the end of the year. I just think that the Rams early on, will be better prepared to face the Lions because that was the last game they played. So they've got a chip on their shoulder, and they have something to prove. Matt Stafford's going to come back this time, and he's going to win this game in comparison to the playoff game. The playoff game was more important to the Lions than this game will be, but the Rams are going to have a chip on their shoulder because they lost to the Lions in the playoffs. So I'll take the Rams in this particular game, and then we'll move on to the final game of week one before we do our overall predictions for the season. The Jets at the 49ers, which I think is hilarious because last year they had the Jets on Monday Night Football. And 4 plays into the game, your boy Aaron Rodgers goes down with the Achilles injury. And so now we've got him going to be on Monday Night Football again. I just want to know if he's going to come out with the American flag again like he did, with the fake patriotism, coming out there and showing off, how dedicated a guy is and everything. So that his offensive line, which is still not great, can face the pass rush of the 49ers on opening night. Let's see how mobile he is with that surgically repaired Achilles that he had some special surgery done to. Can they rip it right away again, or can they go for the other one? I'll take the 49ers on the first game of the season.
I got the 49ers just because the 49ers have always had Aaron Rodgers' number. But to me, it's kind of bold. I've seen a couple of funny videos, and a lot of Jet fans are not happy. They think this is a setup for him to be back on Monday night. But, the NFL is trying to capture the money, revenue that they lost with the Jets last year and Aaron Rodgers because 4 plays in, he gets hurt. They wanted those ratings because everybody was intrigued to see how good the Jets and Aaron Rodgers were going to be last year. And now this year, since he's going to be healthy to start week 1, they're going to try to get all the ratings and success that they didn't get the year prior from Aaron Rodgers. And they're going to use this to try to market and make the most money they can with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So we'll see how good the Jets look this year and see how healthy Aaron Rodgers looks. Because he's going to need all of his health, and he's going to have to move around week 1 if he survives week 1.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's going to bring us, if I get this all figured out here, to our my predictions, picks with David, predictions for this NFL season coming up. It's the way too early, predictions of what we're going to have here for the end of the season. And I want to start in the NFC, if you'll indulge me here. We'll start with the NFC North, which I think is a dead heat, really. Okay, I think that Green Bay is going to be that good. I think Detroit is going to be that good. But head-to-head, Detroit's going to have the better record in the division. I think they'll split the season series. If you look there, you can see that I've got, the Detroit Lions have the second seed in the NFC, and I've got the Green Bay Packers, are going to have the 5 seed, okay? And, so you got 13-4 records for them. The Chicago Bears, I think they have a winning record, 9-8, They're going to have some growing pains, but they're going to win their fair share of games throughout the year. Minnesota will finish last in the division, but they will be at 7-10 with bright hopes for the future. And they got to get Justin Jefferson signed, going forward into the future there.
The only thing I disagree with is, I agree with that. I still think the Vikings could be above the Bears, though. But the records, I don't have much debate on the records. I just think Minnesota could be the better team.
You go to the NFC South here on the right-hand side, the number 4 seed. The NFC South has been the 4 seed the last couple of years in the playoffs. And they've had, a losing record at 8-9 has made the playoffs. A 9-8 team has made the playoffs. Atlanta gets in this year at 9-8. Okay, I think that they just have too tough a schedule. There is too much uncertainty when it comes to, Kirk Cousins and his injury. If he doesn't play, you're going to have a rookie in there, and there's no telling what he'll be. They're going to beat each other up. I still think Carolina's the worst team in the NFL at 2-15. The Saints and Buccaneers, neither team will make the playoffs, but they'll get their fair share of wins at 7-10. Let me see if I can do this here. So then I'm going to go to the East and the West now. I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Same record as Detroit and Green Bay at 13-4. I think that they're going to get the number 1 seed this year. And, that's going to be based on a head-to-head matchup that they have, with the other teams. They're going to beat Green Bay in Brazil, and they're going to get, Detroit, during the season. And so, Dallas barely makes the playoffs as the 7th seed at 9-8. Giants 5-12, Commanders 3-14. A lot of growing pains with those teams. They just got to do more to improve themselves in what I think is the weaker of the two conferences, despite all of the big records to the heavy hitting teams. San Francisco, they're going to get the 3 seed. They're going to be 12-5. The Rams will be 11-6. Arizona, Seattle, they both get their fair share of victories at 7-10. What do you think, Chris?
The Eagles, I think, win the division. I don't know if they're 13-4 good. We'll definitely see. I do know we play them, and they do usually have Detroit's number. But I think we could beat them. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But I don't disagree with that at all. The 49ers, I do definitely think they win the division. I do see the Rams making the playoffs. I also could see the Cardinals maybe even better than 7-10 for one they showed last year towards the end of the season, especially if the guys work out.
Yeah,
they do got a tough schedule, that is for sure. But I think that's pretty realistic predictions of the East and West.
So there's the NFC, okay? And I kind of killed it too early here. Let me go back real quick. So the matchups would be Philadelphia would get the first round bye, and then your 2 seed, the Detroit Lions, would host the Dallas Cowboys. How fitting would that be to have the Lions knock the Cowboys out of the playoffs in the first round?
That would be awesome because we still owe them payback.
The 3 seed, the 49ers, would play the 6 seed. They'd have to play against their division rival, the Los Angeles Rams. I think that they could dispatch them. It will not be easy. These teams play each other so tough. I think they split the season series during the regular year. And that gives you the Packers at the Falcons, which I think is a really beneficial game for the Packers to go into Atlanta and win that game. And that means that the Packers would play against the Eagles in a rematch of the first game of the season in the divisional playoff round. And the Lions would take on the 49ers, but this time in Detroit. And so they'll have an opportunity to get revenge from the year before. The winners of those 2 games will meet in the NFC Championship game. And I got to be honest with you, I got the Packers and the Lions in the NFC Championship game for the right to go to the Super Bowl.
That'd be awesome with the Lions beating the Packers, going to the promised land.
Now let me take you to the AFC. My predictions to the AFC this year. I got to get it all fixed up here.
Ron said he's with you on the East, but he thinks the Rams and Cardinals could switch spots.
Yeah, well, I mean, very well be true, but I think that the addition of Corum running the football, they already ran the ball so good last year with Kyler Williams. I think having 2 backs that can do that kind of damage added to the passing game they have there, they're going to be a tough out, no matter who they play. And, I think that that's going to show through, from the very start when they beat Detroit in the week 1.
Not going to beat Detroit in week 1.
Well, I mean, you could say that all you want. We'll see what happens.
It's possible, but
we go to the AFC. And in the AFC North, we've got the Baltimore Ravens at 12-5. They will be the number 2 seed this year. That division is just loaded. They are going to beat each other up, and they're going to cost each other playoff spots. I think that Russ Wilson leads that defense with that running game and the weapons they have on the outside. Pittsburgh makes it as the number 6 seed. Cincinnati gets in. They have to squeak in the 7th spot, but they're going to be 10-7, and so is Cleveland. Cleveland's not going to make it, even though they're going to have a fantastic year. This is the toughest division this year in all of football is the AFC North. Then you go to the South. I got Houston just edging out Jacksonville again this year, but Jacksonville will make the playoffs. Tennessee will be in the running for the playoffs, but they might fade down the stretch due to youth and inexperience. And the Colts, I could see them having a little better record than 3-14, but I just think that they are in a tough spot with a player who is virtually still a rookie. He got injured last year, running the football, concussions, the shoulder. I know they can run the football, but I think that their defense has taken some hits. And, if Jonathan Taylor gets hurt, there's nobody behind him to run the ball now because Zach Moss left and went to Cincinnati. And so, I think the Colts here are going to have a rough time this season, but they'll be setting themselves up for success in the future with draft picks.
Ryan says Baltimore wins the division, but you're giving Pittsburgh too much credit. Browns will not be in the cellar, and I agree. I think the Browns are better than the Steelers, and I think the Bengals could even be better than the Steelers. I think, honestly, it's going to come down between the Bengals and Steelers for the 7th seed, if that's how it works out in that division. I'm just not ready. Don't get me wrong. Russell Wilson can be a good quarterback if he can get back to the Russell Wilson in Seattle. But we haven't seen that for a couple of years now.
Chris, he did last year. The defense let him down. They gave up 70 points to Miami. The guy threw for over 25 touchdowns. He had less than, 15 interceptions. He ran the ball effectively. They couldn't run the ball, and they couldn't protect him back there from being sacked. The defense gave up too many points. Their kicker couldn't make the field goals. Denver was a lot better team than they showed, and then they didn't let him continue and play in the last part of the season because they didn't want him to get hurt and have to guarantee his contract.
That is true.
I think that Russell Wilson's going to be just fine. He is tailor-made for the Pittsburgh Steelers because they run the football and play defense, kind of like the Legion of Boom did in Seattle. Okay?
That is true.
They'll let him cook from time to time, and he will get the ball down the field to Pickens and Van Jefferson, who comes over from the Rams. They drafted Roman Wilson out of Michigan. They got 3 guys they could get the ball to, not only in crossing patterns shallow, but go down the field deep. I like Freiermuth at tight end. They got a double running back attack in Pittsburgh. I just don't see how they can go less than 11-6 this year. And you're right. They are going to battle Cincinnati for the 7th seed, but they beat them at the end of the year to get that 6th seed. Cincinnati's got to settle for the 7th.
Yeah. He also said Texans win the division. I think the Colts could be better than the Jags, and Tennessee might be the number 2 in that division.
Well, we all have our opinions. In the East, the teams that are going to take a step back, they're still going to be 10-7. Miami's going to win the division this year. They're going to edge out Buffalo. But Buffalo at 10-7, they're not making the playoffs. The Jets go to 7-10. New England, it's at 3-14. This is a rough division to be playing in. And, Buffalo lost defense and wide receivers. Miami lost defense and wide receivers, and Miami had a hard time with defense anyway.
Yep.
And then you got the Jets with the bad offensive line. Even if Aaron Rodgers plays up to his standards, they have a great defense, but I just think that they are playing too tough a schedule. They open up with the 49ers, so they can get the shit kicked out of them early. There'll be people injured and hurt. They're playing in that division. They're playing some of the big dogs in the NFC, in their schedule this year. And so, they're going to take some licks along the way. That may set them up for success in the future, but they're not going to do better than 7-10 this year, in my opinion. And then we go to the AFC West. You got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're still there. I tried my best to give them as many losses as possible in my mind as I'm going down the line. Okay? I got them losing to Buffalo. I got them losing to the Chargers. I got them losing to the 49ers. I got them, I'm going down the list, and I'm like, they're going to lose one of these games. They're going to lose this game. And they still end up with a 13-4 record. They still get the best record in the AFC. They'll get home field advantage to the AFC playoffs with a chance to get that three-peat that they're looking for. Unless Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, okay, the defense is not going to go away if one or two players are injured, even if it's Chris Jones, okay? They add these wide receivers to their team. They've got a decent running game with Pacheco. I think they're going to add another running back. They kept Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I think they're going to get somebody to replace Jerick McKinnon. There's some good backs out there on the market. They just haven't made a move yet. And, I think that the special teams is second to none. Harrison Butker can kick those 60-yard field goals. And you got a punter who's coming in to replace Tommy Townsend that booms 70-yard punts, okay? And they got guys that they brought in for the new kickoff rule. This Louis Rees-Zammit guy, who is a rugby star in Europe, said, I did everything, that I wanted to do in the rugby game. I've already won and made money and everything. I want to try American football. He's probably going to be the kick returner for the Chiefs. He is a huge star in Europe, and he's come to America to play for them. And so looking at this now, what do you think of these here, Chris?
I think it's pretty realistic, especially with the East and the West. I think the Chargers do have the ability to be better at 8 and 9, but that is realistic expectations of them. And I think, there's a possibility that Vegas is better than Denver, just because Minshew can have moments where he can ball, and he does have a decent wideout core there. And the defense definitely got a lot better after what's-his-name took over the reins as head coach last year. So, other than that, I see this playing out.
I just like I did with Kansas City, I tried to give wins to Denver and Las Vegas. And I'm like, they're just not going to be able to beat them. They don't have enough offense. They're just not going to be able to beat them. They can't run the football. They just, and so my expectations for these teams, I want to have high expectations. And then you look at the schedule, when they're playing certain teams, where they're playing them, they're just. I don't see how they can be better than they are. And so now we go to the AFC seeding. You got the Chiefs will get the first round bye, okay, and so that means Baltimore with the number 2 spot, they're going to play Cincinnati in the opening game, and Cincinnati sometimes they've got Baltimore's number. You've got number 6 Pittsburgh. They're going to be playing at number 3 Houston. Well, Houston embarrassed Pittsburgh last year, okay, at the score like 30-6. They put up 30 points on Pittsburgh. Okay, so I think that'll be a great game between those two teams. And then you've got Jacksonville playing at Miami, another rematch of, the early season game. And so I think Jacksonville will be better than Miami. I think that Houston can be better than Pittsburgh. And I think that Cincinnati can be better than Baltimore. But I'll take the Ravens to advance. I'll take Houston to advance. And I'll take Jacksonville to advance. And that means it'll be Jacksonville at Kansas City, and Houston plays at Baltimore for the second year in a row. And then this time the roles will be reversed. Houston knocks off the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, and Houston goes on to play against the Kansas City Chiefs for a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So my final four teams are Kansas City and Houston in the AFC, Green Bay and Detroit in the NFC. Chris, what do you say, buddy?
What were the teams again? Say that one more time. Sorry.
Okay, my final four teams are the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions with a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Detroit goes to the Super Bowl versus KC, and we end David's dream.
It's not my dream. They've already won 2 in a row. I'm good. If Detroit decided to win that game, I'd be okay with it. And
I would respect that.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them to get there when it comes to Kansas City. Man, they've had a bad offseason. Rashee Rice gets in trouble. Okay. And then, I don't know, we didn't talk about this. Okay. But you got a couple of offensive linemen, probably both backups at this point because of the draft this year. Wanye Morris and another dude got arrested for possession of marijuana on the Kansas side of Kansas City, Kansas. Okay? It's legal in Missouri, but they got arrested in Kansas. Okay? And so that'll be interesting, to see how that goes. Okay?
Also,
Xavier Worthy had his car stolen from his apartment complex, okay, overnight. So I mean, just anything that could go wrong for Kansas City, this offseason when it comes to PR is definitely happening. Then you got the Harrison Butker talk, which we discussed.
And then you got Rashid Rice now getting investigated again for supposedly assault at a nightclub.
That's already been proven that was not true. The nightclub owner, and you've got other witnesses. The photographer's trying to hamstring him for money by claiming that something happened when nothing happened. They've got video that proves nothing happened. There was a verbal altercation where he tried to stir up some trouble with them because he knows who he is and he's already in trouble.
Okay. I didn't hear that report of it.
Don't worry about that. They've just got, all the other issues that go with this traffic situation that he walked away from instead of handling it properly.
Yeah.
He's going to be suspended. I think when we get closer to, training camp or perhaps the regular season, he'll be placed on the commissioner's exempt list, so that he's not a distraction to anything until they get all the information. I don't think that the legal avenues are going to be completed by the time the season begins. So maybe they'll go ahead and let him play it out, and then they'll suspend him next year like they did in the Alvin Kamara situation. But I think that there's a good chance he misses at least 6 games this upcoming season.
Yeah. Very realistic.
So there you have it. There was my preseason picks with David when it comes to the records for all of the teams. Looking forward to this upcoming year. I think that everybody will have a good time if we review all of the moves that particular teams have made in the offseason over the next coming weeks. We can talk about particular teams. If you have a team that you want us to highlight and look at, free agent moves, losses and gains, expectations for the season, let us know. If you're one of our viewers, we'll highlight those teams first, But we'll try to go through all of the teams and talk about all of them when it comes to, who they gained, who they lost, and how we feel about, those particular players, the schedule that each team has, and we'll try to justify my picks as we go along.
Sounds good. That's all I got for tonight. You got anything else?
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Greg, and the other people that joined us for the night. We'll see you next time right here on the 4th and Goal Sports Podcast. Again, next Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central.
Thank you guys for tuning in. It was good to be back. Heck of a show tonight. A lot of people viewed our stuff tonight, and I appreciate everybody being here. It was good to be back with 2 weeks since we had 2 weeks off, and we'll see you next week. So if you haven't done it already,
tonight to make up for our weeks off.
Exactly. So if you haven't done it yet, go to Facebook, search 4th Goal Sports, like and follow. Also go to YouTube and Twitch if you want to follow us there. If you go up in the comments, it's posted in the comments. So go do that, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.